You are listening to the Source Connection Podcast, an ongoing invitation to remember your true infinite nature and embody your unique human expression. By holding space for the kind of conversations that uplift, inform, and unite us, we are here to amplify the field of possibilities and explore the keys to creating the new. Hosted by Liz B. and Tarah Long. For more, check out thesourceconnection.us, Spotify, Odyssey, and YouTube.
Welcome, friends, to another episode of The Source Connection. Let's take a moment to relax together. So whatever you feel like doing right now, do that. You can sit down or lie down if you're driving or listening to this while you're doing some activity and want to keep your eyes open. Just stay with us. Don't fast forward through this part just yet. Just breathe. Just be with us and breathe. Bringing more awareness and focus to this moment. And coming here right now together, to be together with us and with all of the other beautiful souls who are listening, whether right now or in the perceived past or future. It's all right now. So we're all here together right now, no matter when you're listening. So just remembering this beautiful thread of connection that is always there, no matter what, no matter if you remember it or not. And just feel the peace and the joy in that knowing, in that thread of brotherhood and sisterhood and being together. And also at the same time being so exquisitely unique in and of yourself that no one could ever be you. No one could ever replace you. No one could ever do better at being you than you. So give yourself some love, some tenderness, some care, loving your own heart, loving whatever is coming up right now, loving your body, just being so grateful for all of it. Just that you can come here and be with us together, the gratitude of just that very simple miracle. And if you're here with us today, spending your time and your focus with us, we're grateful for you. We thank you. Because this expansion and connection, amplification of the space that we invite you into here is no small thing. It's really powerful to be here with you. Just feel your body relax. And the nervous system relax. It's feeling some relief somewhere. But you don't have to do anything in this time with us. Just relax and listen. And if you'd like to move the body around a little bit, you can do that. You can take a few deep breaths. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes if they were closed or not. You can keep them closed and just listen. Do what's right for you. I'm going to open my eyes. Oh. Hi, Liz.
I had to mute myself because I've been coughing, so I didn't want to be so.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're coughing, girl.
It took me a minute to unmute, coming from just the quiet and the space, and I was clicking and nothing was out.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right.
Yeah, and the body is just doing its thing, and just it's such a different experience when we just recognize the perfection of the body. We allow processes to take place instead of fighting them or cursing them, right? And that the more rigid you become, the less flow there is, because you fix it, or you have to do this, or the thing is not right, and and then once you soften and soften and soften into it, then it kind of takes you, and you don't really need to suffer. Same way.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's something that so Liz and I had, if you listen to our episode with Dr. Edith Ubuntu Chan, she was on, we had such an exquisite conversation, and her program called, I'm just doing a little plug here because I started watching her program, Luminous Education for the Luminous Child. And I watched the first session yesterday with Charles Eisenstein, who, I mean, he's such a powerhouse, right? It's just like, but so humble. And this is the thing I love about all of my favorites, you know, at this time of, I'm doing air quotes, of our freedom movement, or whatever we want to call it, like the humility that I feel, you know, from everyone is just, it just touches me so deeply. And there's something that he said that resonated in that moment. And of course, he talked about so many things in this like hour and 15 minutes, but it's touching on what you were just talking about, Liz. And it's really like giving yourself a break, because in our community, I know that we're so like, ooh, I mean, in a good way, we're curious, like what's going on and what's the message here and what's the lesson I'm supposed to be learning, you know, of all these things, which there might be something there that could be it. But he was talking about kind of the challenges that, you know, parents might be facing and switching from like a traditional school to like quote unquote homeschooling, or whatever that might look like, maybe challenges in your body, whatever it is, this reminder that you can just let it go. You don't have to. There may actually not be anything to figure out. There may not be some big lesson for you. There may actually not be some big message. There could be, and a lot of times there is. But also these times are very intense and can be very hard, and our bodies are working that. They're like integrating that. Our systems are integrating, like, so we're integrating so much, and just to recognize that, you know what, we can just give ourselves a fucking break sometimes. You know, it feels so good. It's just like, oh yeah, I don't have to do anything. I don't. It's not, not saying to be complacent and to passive and to not care, even though maybe you do that sometimes too, but really just to be really easy with yourself, you know, just be easy.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe you can extend that to others. Be easy.
Yes. Right. Because if you give yourself a break, if you allow that love and care and tenderness for yourself, it's naturally and automatically going to be there for others. Whereas if you're not doing it for yourself, it's going to be a lot harder to then do it for others, right?
Yeah. So always remembering that we are the starting point in the end and everything else in between. Like, it's so who we are that we try to define it by some time and space, and it just fails every time, because you can say, oh, this is my circumstance, and this is that, and you're confining yourself to a thing or a moment, when where we are, it's infinite. There's no time and space description for it, right? Just, I think that when things get really pressurized, if one can touch that in themselves and just touch that aspect of the all, then there is a resting that comes with it. There is a deeper breath. There is a knowing that you don't have to figure it all out, right? It's not a race. It's a place that you're going to go, and then everything falls into a certain stability, because the nature realm is the swinging. It's always finding its balance through actions and thoughts and continuums and disruptions and everything, right? So even the idea that, is there a winner? Like, is there a winner or a loser? Or, maybe students and I don't know, just in here, not a
Yep. And the only, you're talking about security, and like, trying to grab, it's like, I feel like this, if you see like a hurricane on the beach, right, and there's like all the tree and just everything is just and you're like, I want to hold on to something, and I hold on to something, but really you are the only security that there is, right? In the end, of course, we can have, certain safety comforts and all of that. But you are, in the end, it's you. So nurturing that first and foremost, that relationship with yourself, that, as we say here, being your best friend. You're the only, security that you'll ever have, really. And
And with that, it's when you nourish that connection, when you nurture it, there is a bigger picture that arises, and there is space that's created within and outside of you. And you start noticing that the circumstances or the situations, the predicaments, just focus where one has been putting their attention into, or the way for you to understand and come closer to yourself, right? And so it's almost like it's the same thing, but it feels differently, and it may be just a change in aperture, like to a wider lens, or a change in aperture to a narrower lens, depending on where you are in every moment. And for some reason, that becomes, life is happening for me, no matter what the circumstance is. And there is a level of respect and depth and devotion to life, and to meeting life exactly as it comes, because you understand that there's a bigger unfolding of you taking place, regardless of the limiting, circumstances in the moment, or belief systems, or everything. And so just that alone is a deeper breath. Like, I can trust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which goes back to you don't actually have to figure anything out right now. You can just,
right.
Really, you can just give it all back,
And
the source, to whatever it is you call it, to yourself, to God, to universe. You can just trust the hell out of that thing, whatever it is, Yeah.
And however it presents to you in whatever relationship that you've developed with that. And when have we become so arrogant that we think that we have to do it all right? Or we to do it all. I'm going to do it all. And then at times you go into your devotion of this higher me. And then at other times you're just like, I think it's the ego just hijacking of like, I need to prove that I am worthy of being here, right? Just by what do I have to do? I have to fix it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And I think there was a time where people thought that they had to rid themselves of the ego, and I'm quoting here.
Yeah.
I've always felt that idea was just like, it's just like when somebody says, oh, I'm just going to get rid of my gallbladder. Why? I mean, there's no purpose. Right?
I don't need that thing.
It's just,
yeah.
So I remember like in the New Age movement and some of the teachings and the readings, and it's just like, if you can only kind of put the ego to the side or rest the ego, or in some just get rid of the ego.
Right.
And it's in that sense for me of like, wait a minute, why would something be here with no purpose? Like just to pass me, like any sense. Right. Yeah. And so praying that part of yourself that is trying to keep you safe based on the experiences that you had, based on the catalog and the database of your life. How can you move beyond that and nurture that relationship to where it can be really optimal in noticing immediate threats or danger or whatever that is, right? Or boundaries, all of that. And how do you navigate that relationship with oneself? And I know that everyone listening, everyone who's taken that deep inquiry, everyone who's taken the path of self-ownership and responsibility and self-responsibility, there isn't anything that's more of a thrill than to know yourself, than to explore the dark caves, because it's everything. It's exciting. It's scary. It's the whole array of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that yin and yang. A few things coming up. Yeah, when you're talking about that, for those teachings that are like death to the ego, we gotta, it's like, okay. And then like I did this in myself too, back in the day, is you try to force some sort of like something to happen, right? Like I'm getting rid of it and here's how. And then, I have to tell everybody else too how to do it. I gotta, oh, mom, you really shouldn't have, that's totally your ego talking, like that whole phase that we go through, right? So there's the forcing. And then, yeah, what you said about something wouldn't be here unless there was a reason for it. And there obviously still is. Otherwise, it wouldn't be here. And I think it is, how do I say this? I think it's twofold. And I think, yes, it's here obviously still for us for a reason, right? For many reasons, whatever we want to call the ego, slave self, all of that. But it's also a deep conditioning that is not our true nature. I don't believe, it's like the human, the beings that we are, the true nature, at least, and this is my opinion, is that infinite fullness, light, whatever, the indescribable thing, whatever that is. So I do feel like there's been a conditioning or a technology that's been installed in us for who knows how long on this planet that is we're coming to a time where it will no longer be useful. And I have no idea what that looks like, right? I mean, we're so in the dichotomy of like yin and yang and light and dark, and that has been very useful for us, right? For a long time. I don't know, will it be useful anymore? Will we need it? Will we need identification with, certain things? Will we need to, I mean, maybe, and then maybe we can go even more subtle, and maybe there's a part that is completely unserving wholly and there's nothing useful about it, or will be. And then maybe there's still a part of it that is, in a way that is serving. Sorry, I'm going way down this whole, like in my own mind right now. Which like totally does and doesn't matter at the same time, right? Because it's all words, but it's like fun. I love exploring these things. I'm like, ooh, what about this? And because who knows, right? Who knows?
Yeah, it's just the fun of it.
Yes, it is fun.
As you said at the end, whatever it is that's ready to unplug in us, should we call it ego? Should we call it the slave self? Should we call it whatever the shells that we've put, and we may have many shells, right? That we then at some level made it easier by calling it this one thing. Then it's just easy to conceptualize. It's so much more multi-dimensional and complex and paradoxical than we could ever put into words.
Right.
So if at some level that's ready to drop, so be it, right?
Yeah.
But even to understand ourselves, conceptualizing things and ideas and thoughts so we can relate not only to ourselves but to others, so we can make sense of things and relationships and all of that. So yeah, TBD, right?
TBD, right? We'll all see. Just take it one day at a time. That's all we can do.
It's all we can do.
These are just fun explorations, of like self and like our whole. It's such a miracle just that we're here at all, like in these very complex, multi-dimensional, like it's just mind blowing. Like we can't actually really fathom the miracle of it, because if we did, we would just fucking implode. Like we wouldn't even be here anymore. We would just be like,
totally, Yes. So we take it in doses of insight.
Exactly.
So I do literally combust, like.
We would just, but it's cool to think about, like that. I mean, every now and again, I'm just like, oh my God, it's just so too much to even like handle.
And to think that, maybe years ago, there wasn't even language for some of this stuff. Mm. So think about the way people used to relate back in the 30s, the 40s, the 20s, the 10s, the late 1800s or whatever. The simplicity of relation, of reading, because there wasn't the depth into the analytical mind or the contemplation of certain things. And of course, there was always depth to the human conditioning. I'm not saying that. But the ability to articulate and talk and go even further into the depth, just because of the complexity of the language and the expression and the ability to go back and forth with each other, right? It's just fascinating to think. And then you think, add to that layer of the ability to communicate and things that are still even being downloaded and to come that we don't even understand or have yet to grasp concepts. Add a layer of the accessibility to the sharing, right? You can be anywhere in the world and you could share with anybody in the world and just
telepathically. How
does relate with self, with others? You see the way relationships are, like people used to get married and be with each other forever, right?
Yeah.
Like, why was that? And so we can contemplate, was it because there wasn't the immediate access to other people? Was because people were not exposed to possibilities? What was that? Everything, and changes everything.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a whole philosophical, right? Like there were people talking about this stuff, but there were like 5 of them, back in like 1852. They were just like and then it just started to kind of expand as our consciousness inevitably does, and as we do, and as it becomes relevant in the time to have these conversations, right? But again, I'll go back to, and if you guys haven't watched this episode, highly recommend it. Dr. Edith was talking about one of the women in her program who had visions of like 24 something, right? And just how we were relating to each other and what the children were doing. And both Liz and I were just like, like I just got tears welled up, and I was just, that vision was so exquisite, so beautiful, and just filled me to the brim. And, maybe I'll never see that. Probably not in this body, but maybe, who knows, maybe we'll live 4,000 years. But, just to like, wow, just the possibilities of that, and we are pioneering that. I mean, we really are. And everybody before us has been a pioneer in their own right? It's not like we're better than, or, ooh, now we're the ones that are doing it. But I know that we came here in this very specific, special time to be, we're going to be holding people on our shoulders and them on, it's just like, and just, there's a lot of reason here and a lot of meaning here of why we are all here, and there's a lot of, in the spiritual communities and myself and existentialism and, there doesn't mean anything, and which on one level, sure, that can totally be true. But when you actually bring purpose back into your life and into what you're doing here in a physical body, I mean, it really just next levels everything, know?
I love how you use that as a verb.
What? Next levels. Yeah. It's a new thing I made up. Yeah. Next level.
I will be using that.
Yes.
And I think that also the grief that maybe some of us feel deeply, that we talked about it with Dr. Edith, but there was a 360 there at that moment for me of some people may feel the grief of, well, I'll never get to experience that, right? Because I'm a stepping stone. So we're always stepping stones to the unfolding of what's to come. There's no place that you get. It's just the continuum.
Yeah.
Holding, the blossoming, the opening, the revealing. And I had a moment there where it came full circle for me, because in this moment, we are experiencing that. We know that's possible. So yes, we do experience that. We do get to sit on that shade, right, of the seed that you're that tree. Not only that, if you think about the connection ancestrally and with one another, yes, we are experiencing it all. It's not even
right now.
It's happening in a different awareness and consciousness. And so I think, again, bringing back to that detachment of just needing to be the one that cuts the cake or else, right? But you're making the cake. And by making the cake, you're already experiencing the cake. Why else would you be making it?
Yeah. 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 It's a beautiful reminder. It's all here right now.
It's all here right now. And
it's all happening. Mm-hmm. This positive future is now.
It's now. It's us. It's each one of us. To go conversation with Dr. E, it was kind of like, I hope you've listened. If not, make this be a teaser for you to listen, because there was so much in that space. There was so many next leveling in that, just by being able to hold a space for those kind of conversations to happen and the possibilities of all that. But she talked about a time where you're grooming, how we brush our teeth every day and we brush our hair and we wash ourselves, right? People are also conscious of their energetic grooming. So if you think of yourself as energetic beings, which P.S. we all are, that there's more to you than your body. Taking care of your physical body is one aspect, but you have bodies. How do you tend to those bodies? It's also your responsibility to when you put yourself out in the world, the words that you use, the presence that you choose to bring at every moment, your responsibility. You're able to respond to your own internal processes and choose.
Yeah.
And how beautiful it was, that image of people, taking care of their physical bodies and also doing their aura sweeping and just cleansing their core. Just like, what is the highest expression of my gift that's trying to come through today or now, right? And this is not airy-fairy and to say that you can be a human, that you're always this perfect version of yourself, because you are perfectly yourself.
Yeah.
So it's just fine-tuning to your own essence and to know how to walk in that essence at every moment. What is this bringing forth right now? What is coming through right now? And instead of expecting life to give you something, asking yourself, what am I willing to give right now?
And what can I, meeting yourself where you're at. Like you said, we're not always the most perfect, beautiful, aligned, energetic versions of ourselves. Some days we are, some moments we are, and some moments we're not, and meeting yourself there. Again, this goes back to really giving yourself a break, that wherever you are is all of you. And that's the perfection. That's it. Like there's nothing else that you need to do. You don't have to strive and try and pretend and none of it. Yeah. Something I love too, maybe, I know we're talking a lot about Dr. Ida's episode, but it's so good. It's so good. Something that she said that I really deeply am so grateful for, and I appreciated in the moment and continue to appreciate and think about was what you just said, that I think it was during the episode that she thanked us for holding this level of conversation with her. And she acknowledged the work that it takes to hold this level of conversation with people, not just in the moment, but all the work you and I have done in our lives to be where we are now. And I don't mean just work as in hard work and we're working, but in the intention and the presence that we've had to, and all even the external trainings, the internal, like everything that you and I have done to be here now is really special. And it's not, like, this is not just like, oh, anybody can come on and, hold space and conversation and be together in this way. And I'm not showboating us right now. I'm just acknowledging that. And I say this because I want to invite you to acknowledge yourself in the same way, that whatever you have done up until this moment in your life, it means something. It's special. It deserves to be acknowledged and recognized. And it's not nothing, whatever you do in your daily life, whether it's you're there for your family, you have a job, or it doesn't matter, but your presence, right, is not just, it is you in this moment, but it's everything up until this moment as well that you have experienced, that you have done, that you have been curious about. And I just wanted to acknowledge that in each of you as well, because it reminded me like, oh yeah, Liz and I get on here and we have conversations and we talk, and it's just our default. And so I forget sometimes how impactful it actually is and can be, and we all forget how impactful that we are and can be. And to just remind us all of that.
Oh, thank you for saying that. And I'd like to give my award and to say, one day the day shall come and all the glory shall be mine.
Yeah.
Yours, and I shall deny, not mine. It's by thy grace. When you yield to something,
I love that song.
In yourself,
yes,
that operates through you, as you, for you, with you. There's something greater that emerges. The field you're playing changes. It's a different field that you're playing. So the access to ideas, insights, possibilities, it's different because you're not being guided by only what you see or hear or taste or can touch. And so I will give my back to yielding to the grace of, and some people don't like the word, but I like it, God, in spirit, the whatever you want to call it, source, whatever that is, in it's just a different arena.
Yeah, it's a different,
right? So
different level. But it takes an awareness and a willingness and a not passiveness to yield to that, right? That's not something that just happens, even though it's who and what we are. So maybe before all of our conditioning, it did just happen naturally, right?
Of course, it's a choice. And I am glad that to be so and do so in this life. And I'm so glad that we're here together. And yes, of course, I take the responsibility of that at some level, my individual expression chose to reverentiate that, chose to give itself to a greater idea and possibility, for sure. Or
Yeah. And just to let ourselves be proud of that. I know pride is like, oh, this big sin, it's like, well, actually, let's be proud of, it's of our actual individual human minds and selves and emotions that have done all of this, of course, with the reverence to, that which we all truly are and the infinite mystery of that. Yeah.
In the yielding and just the allowing, as you were saying, it's definitely not a passive or walk in the park thing, because otherwise everyone would be doing that. But here we are, right? And the ability to face one's conditioning and fears and deep-seated thoughts, traumas, and all of that wires this physical experience a certain way, and to even at some point say, could this be different? Right? Just that small spark that could arise. And so I love that you brought up the recognition of that, because for some of you right now, taking the next step into that could be just being here together. For some of you, it could be just something simple as, wow, I've been feeling really dehydrated. I'm going to drink a little bit more and hydrate better, right? And that's the unfolding. So we don't have to expect this big, explosive thing, but it's this steps that we take inwardly, outwardly, to just open and soften, or whatever that looks like to you, to take that next action, right? And it's just
the consistency.
Beautiful little moments of cracking open and unfolding. And sometimes we're so busy waiting for the big explosion that we miss all of those little ones.
That adds up to
the big
our
thing.
Life. To the big thing, to the thing that finally, like
the poking of the is done.
Yeah. And I forget that too sometimes. And then I'll be feeling like, but then I have this moment of like, oh, all of that was for this moment, so that I could actually recognize too when maybe a big breakthrough comes, or the aha or something. Like all of those little things matter. I was working with a client the other day, and she had this huge, like oh my God. And I was like, felt it. I had chills. I was like, oh yeah, this is like so the thing for you right now. But there was no forcing that, we had to have months of just kind of like, okay, taking the action, kind of just going along and doing the things. And then it was like, oh my God, so yeah, just, it all matters, it's all important. Yeah.
And so my calling in, if somebody asks me, how have you done it? It's a continuous choice to trust, to be present with every little thing, to notice when I'm trying to hide, to notice when I'm lying to myself, to notice when I'm avoiding, to notice when I'm distrusting, to notice, just to really be real and be present at every moment, every moment, every moment. And not to wait for life to be life, because life is right now, baby. It's right here. This is our life, right? I read something the other day from, I don't know if you follow this guy, the Captain.
Oh yeah. That he's super kind of like, fuck off, everybody. Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
The other day he said, one day you wake up and say, fuck, this is my life. So let that fuck feel really good.
Yeah, exactly. Like, fuck yeah, this is my life. Not like, oh, this is my life.
Again, that traces back to every little moment, every little thing, every choosing, every boundary, every opportunity. I mean, every breath, it's a choice at some level. Yeah. And so, fuck, this is my life.
Yeah. Have fun out there, guys, too, like, gosh. Yeah. Have fun with each other. Have just what we said earlier. It really is so simple. Just bringing all of yourself. It does whatever that looks like in this moment is you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the continued invitation just to be yourself.
Yeah. And what is trying to emerge through you every moment, right? Sometimes it may be some rest. Sometimes it may be right action. Sometimes it may be defiance. Sometimes it may be, a product. Sometimes it may be an offering. The possibilities are endless. And when we decide to play in that big arena, I'm a firm believer that it may take time, but the universe is going to match that curiosity. The universe is going to match that level of playing. And so getting out of the heads a little bit, getting into the body, really getting in touch with yourself and just moving from that internal compass. Sometimes it doesn't make sense up here, but
it feels good.
And touch upon. And in my life, I can say it has never lied. Has never.
No, never.
Even if it led me to painful circumstances and situations, they were exactly the medicine that I needed to get on to the next level. Dun, 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 dun,
dun. Next leveling. So that brings us to a perfect wrap up of what has come through Liz and I, which is an offering, an experience that we are calling Ignite, because that's what it wants to be called, because it is here to ignite you and us and the field and the togetherness and what wants to come through you, what's emerging, what's being born, in these times that you are here for a reason. We all are. So stay tuned. If you're not on our mailing list, go for it. thesourceconnection.us. You can get our free manifesto and then you'll hear about Ignite, or you can just go to our website at thesourceconnection.us, and there is an Ignite page and you can learn more and you can apply for this program, because we're only holding 8 spots open because we want this to be an intimate experience for everybody involved.
Yeah. And the level of conversations that we're having here amplified that. It amplified the exchange with other beings who are also on that same level of curiosity and willingness, and just it's exponentially bigger with some guidance and focus. Again, it's more almost like a heart mind, mastermind type of place where we're from each other. There's no hierarchical agenda of here I come to teach you, but we understand that life is a continuous possibility of learning and teaching and absorbing and giving. And so it's really potent alchemy that is happening in this space. So weeks of continuous unfolding, witnessed unfolding, and divine sacred unfolding. So if that resonates with you,
then come check us out. Mwah. Thanks, everyone.